but it really went mainstream with what we're doing. Like you said, within the last 2 years. We've been running Normie TV since 2017, 2018. So, but like everything else, it's a new concept and it takes a while to get some traction and move. Well, from watching the industry and watching what happened with COVID, we started to see that people like to get media in all different flavors,
Yeah.
all different ways of getting it, from Facebook to Instagram to Reddit to regular other social media platforms, ones that are popping up almost daily.
Yeah.
So to me, it made sense to, and here we come with the name Normie connect with the audience on
Mhm.
their terms.
Mhm.
You know, we can't say, hey, if you want to watch us, go to YouTube, and that's your option. You know, some people may not want to go to YouTube, it may confuse them. They may go to Instagram and want to watch, or Facebook or LinkedIn. So we broadcast our TV channel across all of those platforms at the same time.
Mhm.
So right now we're broadcasting, I believe it's on 7 or 8 platforms. When we do other live broadcasts like specialized trainings, we'll go across, I think it's up to 15 platforms. At the same time, simulcast it. And people can react with us and chat and everything else at the same time. Well, we found that a lot of people like that, but people work. Can you believe that? They have to travel to and from work.
I hate that
You can't
part.
watch video performances, video on demand while you're driving. So we looked into doing radio. We're now broadcasting simulcast broadcasting over 6 radio platforms. So people have their favorites there too. You know, whatever you want to listen to your internet radio on. So now they can listen while they drive in the car. And for those that are even beyond that, we went to podcasts.
Mhm.
We're on 13 podcast platforms. So wherever you want to find us, we're there.
And you're promoting it.
That's
And
the idea.
yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a couple of the episodes with you and Doug, and I was flattered to do that. I was taken back by when I first learned about what you were doing, that just how is everything scheduled. It's almost like a TV network in a way. This is scheduled then. You could promote, hey, you're going to be on, Jane Doe is going to be on at 4 o'clock. Make sure. And I thought it was well done. And you clearly put a lot of effort into it, and for good reasons. A lot of times, people put effort into things just to do effort, but this was targeted, and it's good. I love what you guys are doing. I've been outspoken about that all the whole way. I really, really enjoy what you're up to. And I like the fact that the experience is a sponsor for this
Absolutely.
year. That we're very proud to do that. And this is where I have to mention that, don't forget, April 3rd to the 5th in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the experience is coming back. Our next event, the Chattanooga Convention Center. When this airs, you still will have time to get some early bird rates as attendee. There's plenty of space on the booths available. Contact me or the sales team, and some great stuff. We put the agenda up about 2 weeks ago. Love it. I'm so thrilled with the speakers coming, including Lance Eisen. Now, you've been a big part, you and Doug and the Normie in general have been a huge part of the experience for years. I mean, do you remember the first time you went to the experience by any chance?
No, and you can't see it now, but hanging behind me, I have from the ceiling a hook with all the badges that I've gotten attending, and there's a lot of them up there. Actually, I put a second hook up now. It's over 10 years, I'd say, that I've been
Wonder.
attending the experience shows.
You've been a big sponsor of the experience as well. You're going to be recording and doing things this time too. Is there any great experience stories jump out that you want to share with everyone?
Well, we tried something new last year where we went live from the experience show across all of our platforms at the same time. And we were doing live interviews right there at our booth of all the movers and shakers, if you want to call it, in the industry. And it was fun. You know, we had you there, you were talking with us, we did an interview, and again, we pushed that out over everything at the same time. And we had people all over the country watching what we were doing at the experience while we were there.
Yeah, it was creative, and I had a blast. It was funny. I thought it was funny. Maybe we need this time to get bigger signs, say you're on air or something. Because it was just funny. Everybody just came from talking to Lance during our interview, and me, and so like, hey, we'll give us just 5 minutes.
But that adds to it because it's real.
Oh,
You
I
know,
know.
it's real
It was funny.
live,
It was great.
you know, and that's kind of what we went for there. And everybody was well behaved.
Mhm.
I mean, our booth was actually next to a bar, so it was
Yes.
really touchy, but no, it was good. We were very well behaved.
This is
And,
the first time I'm sorry, Lance. The people want to be by the bar a lot in this industry. I've noticed a lot of my exhibitors have that same request, which is kind of funny. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
oh no, I absolutely like that. It's a short walk. It's just, like you said, we had a lot of people that were there, a lot of activity. It was nice to have people come in, sit down and talk with us.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the way our booth is designed. It's a large booth
Mm-hmm.
with seating area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want. We don't want people coming to us, we can sell them something. We want people to come to us with questions, with concerns, with suggestions. And that's how we meet people at these events.
Your booth is going to be in the back of the hall, the major booth right between the cleaning pavilion and the restoration pavilion and where the lunch area is. So it's a perfect setting for everything. You're going to be in the belly of the beast. Go back and talk to Lance and have fun. What would people be surprised to know about Lance? That's a question that came up a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's a good one.
I mean, I'm pretty much an open book. I do these types of things all the time, these interviews. I run interviews and I
Yeah.
do training several times a month online. So I do talk about my background because it's what helps me do what I do. And I try to encourage people to use your background as a tool to do what you do. But what would surprise people? It's like the story I told you before. It's the legitimacy of just wanting to help.
Yeah.
And people really are, yeah, I'm here to help you. And they're always like grabbing for their wallet to make sure it's still there. No, that's really what we do at Normie. It's about helping people in this industry.
Now, it's, you are an open book, and that's why I was always attracted to you, because you're a good guy, and you hated when I call you sir a
Yeah,
lot.
that's true.
Things of that
You just
nature.
do that because I'm older than you and you keep reminding me.
I think that one thing I want to remind everybody that may not be available at this point, but we're doing the tours of the Shaw flooring plant on April 2nd, the day before the event. As of today, I believe 15 of the 75 have been sold, and this will be out in 2 weeks. So it may not be, but if it's still available, I would highly recommend doing that. Get to our website, register for the event, then register for Shaw. It's $199. 3 tours all day, transportation, lunch, all that stuff. So, any last words you want for our people? Why do you think people should come and see us in Chattanooga, Lance?
Your show, the experience is different from any of the other shows that I've been to, whether it's your spring or your fall show. And it's not about going to be sold something. It's going to learn about things. And that is very different in the, if you want to call it the home show or the, convention show type market. Everybody's trying to sell their products. It's really about who you are and selling yourself and your services where people can touch them, try them right there. You're not shopping on an Amazon catalog to buy a $10,000 widget. You're touching them. I mean, I love walking around and watching the robots run around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robot cleaners and stuff. People are there trying to sell them. They're just showing the technology that's there. And we didn't mention this, but technology right now is exploding, and our industry is not exempt from that. It's really playing into the industry. And we have a lot of people in this industry that have been doing things the same way for 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Several reasons. One, technology is changing so quickly, it's hard to keep up, but people fear technology, new stuff, and change.
Right.
And you can't in this industry. Don't fear the technology, embrace it. You have to.
So many
Your show
times.
highlights
Go
it.
ahead.
Your show
Yeah.
highlights. That's what I was saying.
Thank you, Lance. I think it's hands-on has been drummed into my head since I started a couple of years ago, and it's true. There's more hands-on experience at these events than anything I've ever seen. If you want to go and learn your craft, this is the place to be. And we're excited to have you. We're very excited to have you and Normie be a part of be a partner with us for this. I think that's a good place to end. I think that was beautiful. I learned a lot about Lance. That's what I wanted out of this. If people don't love you yet, they love you now, Lance. All right.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for the opportunity. Though I do have one question, because you did
Yes, sir.
start off by saying we're good friends and everything else. I'm the 12th interview.
12th. Well, I'm building
Wow.
up to. We're building up to Chattanooga, man. It's a build.
Oh, okay. Good.
Don't tell Chuck Viola that, who was our first one. I'll tell him, no, we start off with the best. And, you know,
Yeah, okay.
I told you, my big mouth talked to me into doing 52 of these a year. So there's going to be a lot of people like the 40th that are going to be looking at me and shaking their head. But I thank you for being here. How's that? We'll start leaving with that. Hey,
Okay.
thank you. Make plans to attend the experience April 3rd through the 5th in lovely Chattanooga, Tennessee. You could register through our website, rnrmagonline.com. You can find this and all R&R videos and podcasts on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Please follow us if you haven't already, and feel free to leave a quick review. We'd love to hear from you. Also, please follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Very special thank you to our guest, Lance Eisen of Normie. This is Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
So at this time, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Gavin McGregor Skinner, the Senior Director of GBAC, a division of ISSA, and Doug Hoffman, the Executive Director of Normie. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Hi, Jeff.
So we're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about issues in the industry. We're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about solutions. So to start it off, Gavin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're thinking here? What is it that the industry needs to know right now?
That it takes a team to be successful, Jeff. And at the moment, we've got wonderful people doing very important activities when it comes to capacity building, certification, training. But when we go into action, when we have to go live with this, we go off full operational, we are all over the place. We're scattered. And so we're working with ISSA and Normie Now Alliance, with Doug and myself and many others involved. It's trying to bring some cohesion to all the islands of excellence that we have out there right now, especially when it comes to responding to disasters like we've just seen with the hurricane down south.
You're telling me, Gavin, that there's a collaboration here happening with ISSA and Normie?
Yeah, so through the ISSA Normie Alliance, Jeff, we've been working pretty diligently and being very focused on how to do better for the industry. And it's you just have to look what's out there in the media right now on all the discussions that emergency managements at the local level, the mayors have, and then go back to social media where it's going, hey, I need this humidifier delivered here. I've just run out of PPE. I don't have no more gloves. And you go, oh, hang on, guys, we should be more professional than that. We should be better organized than that.
That sounds like a good idea to serve people, to help. Doug, do you know anything about this?
Yeah, I was just thinking about what happened here in Louisiana when Katrina hit. We had been in business for about a year doing training. Of course, Louisiana had a licensing law, but the reality was that there was really not a focused central place where people could find the professionals that they needed. And as much as we appreciated, obviously, everybody from Tennessee and Georgia and Texas coming in to help, there was still that need. I think there was a vacuum for information. I remember doing several free seminars at a couple of libraries, people just hungering for information. And I think that's the idea here is how do we focus our energies into really helping these folks and helping them in a way that they're not going to pay the price years from now because maybe they had the work done incorrectly.
So Katrina, that was a devastating storm. We've seen others, and recently we've seen even more. This has been a busy year for storms. So what you two are cooking up together sounds like a nice solution to help the industry respond to needs. Doug, I see Gavin's in a nice home there, but you're in an office or something. Talk about that. Talk about the training centers and what they can do for this concept.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We're very excited about the fact that we're now being able to open up training centers around the country. Actually, we have one in Fort Lauderdale, which is our Normie Pro Academy South. We just opened this location, which is our Normie Pro Academy Central. And January 1, we're going to be opening Normie Pro Academy West, which is in Anaheim, California. So we're very excited about the possibility of being able to do training, not only from the initial training side of it, but also from the advanced training, which a lot of these guys need. Unfortunately, like so many things happen, somebody gets trained and they get a license and then you don't ever see them again. So what we're hoping is that we can provide the kind of depth of training that they need with this type of facility, that they can get the kind of advanced training they need on both the assessment side, on the remediation side, and then just in indoor air quality and microbials in general. So yeah, we've got a great facility here. Very excited about it. I think it's going to work out for us very, very well. And it's here located in a place where everybody wants to go. New Orleans, where we have great food, oysters.
I have sampled some of the good food down there. So I'm assuming some of that good food makes it to this classroom.
Maybe. No, that's the plan. In fact, a couple of our classes are actually on-site classes where we go actually into a facility and do an assessment. And some of those classes include lunches and dinners. So yeah, we take advantage of the resources as we can.
Okay. Gavin, what do you think about this? I know you enjoy a good classroom yourself.
Oh, it's so important, Jeff. The challenge that we have right now is, we have events occurring all the time. We've just had a huge event with the recent hurricane. We know the water will go down. We know the roofs will be repaired. We know the pictures in the news will go away, but the health problems will continue way beyond this. And the challenge we have is that how do we determine whether the building is healthy or unhealthy? The threats of disease are hard to see, but I think both Doug and I are in total agreement. We need to address these dangers, these health impacts, these health problems as seriously as we deal with raging floodwaters and roaring winds. And the only way we can do that is through certification and training facilities like what Normie is running and what Doug's just explained.
And as I could offer as well to that input, the reality that we're dealing with things you can't see. And so you've got to do testing on both the pre and post side to find out if in fact you have a problem, then if you've actually reduced that problem. A lot of people don't realize what happened at Katrina, which is also now happening in North Carolina. It happens in Florida. The water comes, it goes away. You may not have a mold problem right away, but how many of us saw the caskets floating down the lake? Now you're dealing with Cat 3 water, contaminated biological contaminants. So it's not just about mold, it's about microbials that you can't see.
Thank you, Doug and Gavin. You know, it seems like a lot of industries out there have requirements mandated by state and government to get your nails done. Not that I do that. To get your hair cut, to get your furnace or air conditioning worked on, to get your plumbing done in your home or business. It requires someone with a license, and that process to get that license is obviously intensive at times. Are we seeing that happening in this industry? I know we published a recent article on Clean Facts about something in Illinois. I'd love to hear both of you comment on this. What have you seen? What do you think is going to happen in the short term and long term with this?
The states have taken a couple of different paths. Some of the states have actually created boards, and those boards are licensing boards. They've set requirements for what the licensing should be and who should actually meet that training requirement. Other states have decided that they would rather have a registration process, or at least advise the public on who they should use, who should be they should be using for their program, for their needs, whatever their remediation needs are. And so I think a great example is we've got 5 states that do have licensing right now, but we also have states like Illinois that just came up with SB 1087, where they're saying if you're going to, it's basically a public awareness thing. If you're going to do mold remediation, then you need to look at the IICRC or Normie, a third-party training association that's got a national presence. And so that's where I see it, is kind of these 2 different paths. And I think we're going to continue to see it, frankly, because microbes are becoming a bigger and bigger issue.
Thank you, Doug. And Gavin, anything to add to that?
Yeah, exactly what Doug had mentioned. Last time I looked at the map, Jeff, I think there was about 50 states, and Doug just mentioned five. But what's happened in Illinois with the Mold Registration Act is pretty remarkable in the way that we're looking at, it's the invisible stuff that's most consequential to the health of the building and the health impacts to people. And what we're seeing now in Illinois, that Mold Registration Act comes under the Department of Public Health. Now, the Department of Public Health will want metrics, they'll want measurements, they'll want key performance indicators. So that's a whole fantastic new change to where the direction we're taking into registration, certification, and training all our first responders that are out there, whether it be a natural event or a man-made event or just an accident, water pipe breaks, for example. So the point where we're saying here right now is that the victims of all these disasters, right now, the problem with how we respond is that everyone throws money and resources in the acute phase, but there's not a lot of interest in the long-term phase, which is the health phase. So what are we doing 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from any event, any disaster, any emergency, when the attention's moved away, yet people are still dealing with it? And I think the Mold Registration Act and all the other licensing laws and requirements in those other 4 states are so important when it comes to professionalizing, becoming more professional at what we do, but doing it through a way of measurement and metrics and key performance indicators.
Let's dig into that a little bit. You mentioned, here, let me set this up a little bit. An event happens, a hurricane comes through, there's damage, there's response, things are fixed as best as can be done in the moment. Gavin, you mentioned years down the road. What are we talking about here? Once an issue is fixed, isn't it fixed?
Well, Ed, you're right, Jeff. Once you put a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage, it might stop the hemorrhage for a little while, but then it starts hemorrhaging again. What we're seeing when it comes to buildings that have come under disasters, emergencies, events where the building gets wet, water damage. Our job is to go there in the acute phase to dry it out. But then more importantly, Jeff, we need to go back on a frequent period of time that's really laid out to understand whether that building, after being dried out, remains to be a healthy building. And that's so important because this connection, we understand that, for example, hurricanes are known for causing deaths and severe damage. We get that. But there's new research, Jeff, that's just come out that there are indirect drivers in these communities that have suffered a hurricane or a storm where thousands more deaths happen for up to 15 years after the storm passes. And going from the emergency phase, the acute phase, to a medium to long-term phase, it's what's so critical in the needs for our certification, our training right now, but also in our business processes.
Can I just point out something? I think this really reminds me of kind of where we are. What you're talking about, Gavin, is remember 9/11? How many years after 9/11 were people dealing with health effects as a result of them being in those contaminated environments? And I think, yes, you're correct. You can fix the problem. Everything looks great. But again, if it's not done correctly or you're not addressing the potential health issues, that's a big concern. One of the things that was exciting to me about what Illinois did, and this is a step in the right direction. I can tell you in 2004, a lot of people reacted to, oh, mold, what's the problem? Mold's been around since Leviticus. What's the big deal? And yet now what's happening, which I'm excited about, is Illinois says we want training, a public awareness program to let people know not just about the mold issues, but about the health effects of the mold issues. That's a huge step in the right direction.
Doug, you mentioned Katrina a while ago, and that was in 2005. Were you there?
I was here, yes. In fact, I wrote it out. I just finished my house a month before the hurricane hit. Fortunately, I'm from Florida, so I built the house with hurricane standards from Florida, 150-mile-an-hour wind load. So we didn't have any problem with our house. But as you can imagine, we were absolutely covered up with helping neighbors and people at church. And giving seminars, trying to help folks figure out how to deal with this issue. So yes, I was here.
So thinking about the effect of a hurricane hitting, how many years would you say that impacted the area?
I would say at least 10, and probably in some areas more. There's still places where you can see damage.
Okay, so we just had a hurricane come through, Hurricane Helene. Are we seeing a similar issue here where they're taking care of issues right now, but we're going to see years of impact from this hurricane?
Well, I can tell you that I think it's actually worse. And from this standpoint, looking at the infrastructure, it's not like running a wire across, level ground for a couple of miles. I cannot even imagine how long it's going to take for them to get back to quote unquote normal.
So what does the industry do with this conversation today? Gavin, what do you see as a critical need right now?
So the discussion we're having on the ISSA Normie Alliance is the list, the centralized list. And what we're seeing even after, the experience that both Doug and I, and probably even you, Jeff, have over years of dealing within the industry, where is that list of those that have been certified, those that have been trained, those that have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to respond to both natural events like these hurricanes and these storms, as well as other events that happen that cause severe damage to buildings? Because in any community, you're going to have critical infrastructure that's required. That building has to be has to be recovered and back to normal as quickly as possible, just to keep society going. And then, of course, you've got all the dwellings, the hotels, and also the individual homes and houses where people live in that need to be go through the recovery phase and the damage assessment and be rebuilt and recover from that event. The challenge we have right now, Jeff, is where is the list? Who holds the list? Who should manage the list so that both federal, state, and local government officials and non-government officials can come to an association like ISSA or Normie and say, where is that list of who's been trained? Because there's so many people out there that are doing training, we just don't have a list right now. And that's a huge weakness in the industry.
But you're saying that this is one of the projects that you both are working on.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's critical. And it's critical to be, I think we're seeing ourselves as the glue, as we not just reach out to ISSA training or Normie training, but all those other training courses and that are out there, IRCRC, plus all of the other people that do training, and say, right, keep doing the training. That's your business. But when we do this, let's look at ourselves as forming one team that we can then approach the decision makers, be it government or non-government, saying, here's the list of companies, the list of people that have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to go and respond based on science with the right equipment and the right tools to do a job that's going to focus on recovery and the health of the building and the health of the people.
And I think if I could add something to this, Jeff, from the very beginning, our mission was to both train professionals and certify them, but also to train the public, to inform the public. And I feel like I would be neglecting it if I didn't say our nonprofit 501(c), which is NormieProETF.org, has some great documents on the landing page for people who are residents, to help them protect themselves during this process, and for volunteers. And so I think that's the point that Gavin's making, is we want to move forward with really helping the public and helping the professional, because both of them obviously are playing a part in this whole recovery process.
So this project you're working on, coming up with this list of individuals, companies that the government, consumers, anyone that needs help can access. When is that list going to be available?
Well, I can tell you that Normie already has a list available on our website, normiepro.com, where people can search for licensed, trained, certified remediators and assessors. That's already in place, has been in place since 2004, and they can search by zip code, city, and state.
And Gavin, what do you think?
And that's what we're doing, Jeff. The same thing through the ISSA Normie Alliance, is looking at those lists, seeing where there's overlap, seeing we're mapping it down to the zip code level. Where are people located? Again, what we've found, and Doug and I were talking about this week, so many people are traveling hundreds to up to thousands of miles to come down from, say, Washington, California, and from different states to come over to North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia right now to help them with Hurricane Helene efforts. So we know people will travel. We know they travel. What we don't know is who's traveling, who's there, who needs help with supply chains for better, more PPP, personal protective equipment, who needs help with repositioning the equipment that we use, who needs more equipment because based on the damage assessment right now. So again, what we're trying to do here, Jeff, is just make us more professional, make us more coordinated.
Sounds like a project that will never have an end because there will always be additions to this. It's just a project to help, and that will never be like it's done. Here it is. That's what I'm hearing. Doug?
Well, it's a piece of string, Jeff. Yeah, and you've got to start somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Doug, just thinking about the recent hurricane, North Carolina and Georgia don't have licensing laws. That when we think about that, anyone can go in and do the work. Is that what you're seeing? And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it is that way. And the interesting thing about this is oftentimes the states will suspend their licensing laws, even when they have licensing laws in place, because what they want, and I don't want to sound cynical, but they want to get the tax base up. They want to get people back in their homes. And so they're open to letting anybody come in and do the work. I see that as an issue, obviously, because I know what kind of damage can be done if it's not done correctly. We saw that through Katrina when they suspended the licensing law here. We saw it the following year in Texas when they did the same thing. In Florida, they've determined not to do that. So if there's a hurricane in Florida, they're not going to suspend the licensing laws because they want professionals to do that work. And there's certainly enough of them out there. I think the key is, as Gavin said, getting the information out there to let folks know, here's how you can find guys who are really well-trained and certified, and then giving them the documentation that they need, the resources that they need, so that they can follow the right kind of guidelines to use the correct standard of care. So it really is about just getting the information out there and education.
All right. Anything we missed, Gavin, you want to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah, one last really big headline, I suppose this is an industry alert actually, Jeff, is that a new study came out yesterday. And that new study was by Stanford University researchers Rachel Young and Solomon Chiang. They published yesterday in the journal called Nature, which is freely available on the internet. And what they found was that in any given month, people in the US are dying earlier in their communities than they would have if a storm or hurricane hadn't hit their community. And what they did, what Angela and Solomon did, they looked at 501 hurricanes and storms in the United States between 1930 and 2015, and they found that the increase in deaths in those communities happened earlier, but more importantly, they persist for about 15 years after each weather event. And then they went through and they analyzed these hurricanes and storms in the United States, and they found that we were having an excess death of 55,000 to 88,000, or let's say if one average US hurricane had hit a community, we get about 7,000 to 11,000 excess deaths that happen earlier as if the storm had never happened. So if the community was not hit by the hurricane, those 7,000 to 11,000 excess deaths would not have happened from one storm, or the 55,000 or 88,000 on an annual basis would not have happened from all the different storms that we have. So this is really big information for us in that we don't understand the full health impact from an emergency or disaster like a hurricane or a storm, and we need to focus more on our response, how we respond, and the health of the building, not just from the acute phase of respond and then recovery, but for many years, up to 15 years later in those communities.
All of that is sobering information, important to know, because we can see the reason why your alliance is here and what you plan to do and how important that is. But thank you both for your time today. This is the first of many such industry alerts to keep people informed as to the work you're doing and how others, as well as they watch this, can contact you and volunteer to help in this cause. I assume you both are open to collaboration from others.
Absolutely. That's what we want. I think we started with that comment, and it's really true. It takes a team. There's not one person that can do this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, Jeff, Doug and I are fully aware of all those people, with all those great people within our industry that have actually they've actually gone down to the areas that have been impacted in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. They've deployed themselves. We're with you guys. You've got my phone number. Give us a call if we can help.
Thank you both.
Hey there, my name's Doug Hoffman. I'm the Executive Director of NORMI, National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors, and I'm so excited to be able to share with you information about our new certification, the Certified Remediator for Sensitized Individual. And this class is actually led by one of our new senior trainers, Michael Pinto, who's been in the sensitized individual field for many, many years. And I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him talk to you a little bit about why this class is so important for anybody that's in the industry. So, Michael, it's all yours.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that very much. Just want everybody to know that the reality is that you're dealing with sensitized individuals, whether you know it or not. Anybody who's in the mold assessing and or remediation field, some of the people that you're coming across indicate that they've been made sick by mold, or they, as you do your occupant interviews to understand what's going on in the home, you may find out that they're talking about symptoms. Now, we are not doctors, but what we are professionals that are trying to help resolve some of these issues. So what this particular class does is three things very specifically. It helps turn you into a better remediator. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You can be a good remediator, you can be an average remediator, but this will help you be a better remediator, and that's just good across the board. The real issue, though, is that for sensitized individuals, it's a necessity. You can't miss the details. The second thing that the class does is expand upon some of the things that just get missed in a general sense in regards to following the IICRC S520, the mold standard. Most people know about conditions 1, 2, and 3, normal fungal ecology, and visible fungal growth as condition 3. What gets missed is that whole condition 2, deposition of airborne spores. And that brings us to the third thing as well, is how much money are you leaving on the table when you're doing a partial remediation and focusing on removing the source material, but you're not even investigating or offering to do some of the whole house cleaning or the cleaning that is necessary to take the condition 2 parts of the office or the home and bring that all back to a normal fungal ecology, rather than just the area that you contained to remove the mold in the basement, or the mold under the sink, or the mold in the bathroom. So all of these things come into play in the NCRSI course, but the biggest thing is it makes you a better remediator across the board. And I'm excited to be one of the instructors, not the only instructor, but one of the instructors, and just share some of these tips and tricks over the course of the 2-day class. So we hope to see you there, and you can check the NORMI schedule and the best training system schedule for when the next course is. Looking forward to seeing you either online or in person.
Thank you, Michael, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the next class.
Absolutely, Doug. Bless you.
Okay, everybody, we are back at the Experience Trade Show in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I have a guest here with us that was actually attending some of our lectures earlier today. And it's Evie. And Evie's come a long way to this show and to come and talk with us. So Evie, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hi from down under. This is Evie Sims from Bulk Sorting. Come from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm really, really happy to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. And, you know, you were with us this morning in the lectures where we talked about marketing, mycotoxins, which I know you had said offline when we were talking. It's something new in Australia.
Yes, it is. It's something that has really been there. There's a lot of controversials about it, and it will be really good to get some more information on this so that we can actually debunk some of the myths that's out there.
Well, from what we talked about, it's pretty unregulated out in Australia. They don't really have legislation for licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah, not yet. Hey, hopefully, hey, one day. That's
your goal.
yeah.
Well, you know, we had talked, we can, you know, try to work with you and get training out there. And we've worked with people in Australia before. A matter of fact, one of the labs that we use is out of Australia.
That's amazing. It's really good it's good to know that we've got that technology, and yet we're not harnessing the opportunity to really understand a lot more about what's affecting a lot of homeowners, a lot of people that lives in rental properties, and the government actually understands a little bit about that because they had the biotoxin review. However, we kind of just stayed stagnant at a point. So I've been really wanting to find a way that we can bounce that conversation back up. And at the end of the day, it is the people that's suffering. So we need to help them.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm doing this 20 years here in the States, and the shift in licensing requirements and better training, it's a slow process, but we're getting there. And it sounds like Australia is getting to the point where they're looking to start doing that. And especially with people like you interested.
Yeah, I think there is a bigger call and bigger demand for it. I think one of the Normie presentation by Michael Pinto, he was talking about that mode's been here for a long time. You know, all the science that we talked about is now actually 25 years on is actually proven to be true. Some of the restoration people are doing actually the correct things. So we're now beginning to understand a lot more about what that is. So we need to just step up a little bit more, bring that back home, my home, and then establish a lot more ways that can benefit not just the because people are suffering, homes are not being mitigated properly. And that's a problem, hey?
Well, let's change gears here for a second. And it's what, 25 hours traveling from where you came from to get here?
Bit keen, eh?
Yeah. Okay.
29 hours in total.
Okay, then. So what brought you here?
So I'm here to start a Bulks Holdings Australia as a Bulks Holding USA LLC. So we sell restoration dehumidification systems with a company that's in UK, EcoPro. EcoPro has been in US for about a year too, but however, they haven't really been into restoration industry. I'm hoping to bring some education, some sort of new formats that's coming in here, and just help the restorers, homeowners, and whoever wants some understanding on dehumidification desiccant units.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's a synergy between what we do here in the States, what you're doing here in the States from Australia, and the UK, where we also have been doing training.
Yeah.
So we're in the same territory. So this could be a very interesting gathering that we're starting to put together here.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to Australia.
Well, I think we should.
Well, I think it's something that you may hear about in the near future. So
well, that's it.
We actually have a phone number in Australia.
Yeah.
No, a direct line to Normie from Australia. It's there.
What's your direct line?
I don't have it now, but it's an Australian number. So it's local to Australia.
So we'll get that number and we'll post it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that people can reach out to Normie. In Australia, trainings will come.
Yes.
And it will be there. And so licensing format of some sort should be coming. So interesting points, eh?
All right. Well, we'll continue this discussion.
Yes,
Thank you.
will do. Thank you.
We will be back in a little bit with our. Okay, everybody, we are back at the Experience Trade Show in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I have a guest here with us that was actually attending some of our lectures earlier today. And it's Evie. And Evie's come a long way to this show and to come and talk with us. So Evie, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hi from down under. This is Evie Sims from Bulks Holding. Come from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. And, you were with us this morning in the lectures where we talked about marketing, mycotoxins, which I know you had said offline when we were talking. It's something new in Australia.
Yes, it is. It's something that has really been there. There's a lot of controversials about it, and it will be really good to get some more information on this so that we can actually debunk some of the myths that's out there.
Well, from what we talked about, it's pretty unregulated out in Australia. They don't really have legislation for licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah, not yet. Hey, hopefully, hey, one day. That's
your goal.
Yeah.
Well, we had talked, we can, try to work with you and get training out there. And we've worked with people in Australia before.